Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Well, it's a beautiful day here on Monday, the 27th of February 2023 here at Giga Texas. And it's just a couple of days away from Investors Day, so I know there's a lot of excitement, a lot of interesting things that are going to be going on here in the very near future. First of all, as you can see here, Investors Day is going to be Wednesday starting at 3 p.m. Central Time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Time or 1 p.m. on the Pacific Time. That's a little bit different than normal, so that's going to affect a few of the other events that are going on around Investors Day. Starting off here, just a reminder, earlier on the 1st of March, that Wednesday, there's going to be a pregame event for a lot of YouTubers just a few miles south of here for getting ready for Investors Day. There's going to be some panel discussions, some pizza, some drinks. You can see the link here. It'll be in the video description if you want to register, and come on out. I hope that I will see you guys there. Now, it runs from 12 to 5, but I'm going to be leaving at about 2 or so because I'm going to go to this event, which is going to be held about 20 miles away at Clive's Bar. It's the Tesla Bull Stampede. And this is being put on by a lot of big-time YouTubers, social media, and investors that are going to be there. There are going to be many panels and a lot of activity. And so because Investors Day is starting at 3, I'm going to have to get over there by about 2:30 to maybe 3 o'clock when that starts up. So if you're interested in going to that event, the link is here. It's also in the video description, and you can register for that as well. Both events are actually free admissions, so if you're in the Austin area, come on out. One of the things I want to talk about briefly in the intro before we get to a special event is here. You can see that main entrance on the west side is really coming along, and they're doing a very big push to get this ready for Investors Day. Now, some of what they're putting in is going to make it look really nice, but I think it's going to be temporary, and then after Investors Day we'll see resumption of the construction to finish out the concrete work. But nevertheless, as you can see by this image, it's really looking great, and I can't wait to see when they put all the rest of the props and get it ready for Investors Day on Wednesday. So without further ado, one more kind of an interesting thing that I want to cover here in the video, and we'll do that here in the intro right now. Hey everybody, as I mentioned, we have a very special group here today. They're from the Czech Republic, and they're on a almost 3-week tour across the United States. They've been in California, they've been in Nevada, Arizona, now in Texas, and then they're heading over to Florida, and they've seen all kinds of things from SpaceX, Tesla, Lucid, and Rivian, and everything else. And this group is kind of organized by Ondrej here, who also has his own YouTube channel. It's called Teslacek, and I'll have a link to his YouTube here if you want to take a look at that. But just kind of curious, what did you guys think about Giga Texas?
It's awesome, and it's very big. Everything is big in Texas, so we see it in our eyes.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm very glad you guys got a chance to stop through this part of Texas and see Giga Texas on your trip, and thank you very much for coordinating with me to come out here. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we thank you for your time and your willingness to do that. We are really appreciative.
Well, awesome. Well, I wish you the best in the rest of your trip and a safe trip home. All right, so take care, everybody.
Hey, stay energized.
A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. On this Monday morning, we'll start off here on the south end, give you a good view of how this portion of the construction site looks today. You can also see quite a bit of work on staining the south wall white. It is now almost the entire length of this end of the building, which is pretty striking, as you can see, especially the difference between the white and the unpainted concrete. And this is also a good side view from the east looking towards the west over the south end. Hopefully soon we'll have the water issues on this end completed, and then they can begin the construction process of whatever structure will be added to this end of the building. As we continue more towards the east, you can see this temporary parking and material staging yard, also with many more trailers being assembled and stationed in this particular part of the factory. Again, this may be more of the contractors that will be working on the south end. This clearing also continues to have more dirt applied here. It still seems to be a temporary storage location, which I'm continuing to monitor. And as I mentioned, these trailers have been added very recently. You can see that the number and the size of them have definitely grown. So I think this is yet another great sign for the south end construction that should begin perhaps next week after the Investors Day is completed, and also, as mentioned, they get some of the water issues on the south end completed as well. This side of the body in white shows those two chutes into those dumpsters. Looks like they have been used quite a bit, and it's also right next to that loading platform to the second floor. We can see these blue covered items on the southeast and east side of stamping. Again, these are components for material bending machines and also stamping machines that go into the south end of the stamping 2 portion of the building, which is still under construction inside. On the south end here, we see some of the materials being stored. We also note that the trailers that used to be stored here on this side of the cyber pond have been moved away, and otherwise still waiting for materials and equipment to arrive that will indicate that the construction on this end of the site is ready to resume. These two doors on the ground level are for that stamping 2, where that assembly of the stamping machine and metal forming machines is underway. And you can also see how the stain work on the walls appears and where they have not put the stain around that temporary platform. Part of it is because some of that what looks like concrete wall panel is actually just a temporary structure. So they can't stain it until they get the concrete wall panels installed. As I pull back, you can see how this portion of the site appears, this trailer, and also some of the equipment and other materials being stored on this side of the cyber pond. As we move further to the north, I'll bring the drone over a little bit further to the west side so I can show you some of the developments. You can see those stormwater pipes still have not yet been connected, and I think that has to do with the water removal and also the linear plate shaft installation that is going on this side. And as you can see, the water removal in that red tank from Griffin continues its process, and that is to make sure that the water is not intruding onto this linear plate shaft that continues to extend further into the ground. Taking a look at that ladder, that gives you a pretty good idea of the depth of this section as it looks today. And you also note that pretty much all of the Model Ys have been removed from the south end where the superchargers are, with the exception of that one, and that's related to allowing the white stain to be applied to this side of the building. Also, as we pass by that corner, you can see there's 3 colors. That's because that was part of the test panels before they concluded that white was the final color. As we continue further to the north on the west side, you can see that crews are busy cleaning up this portion of the parking lots and also the road. This and also the lack of vehicles and equipment on this side is related to Investors Day cleanup and preparation. And one of the biggest areas is this new main entrance. And you can see how the landscape section on the left and the new treatment in front of the doors is appearing today. It looks like crews are very busy bringing out what appears to be plants and grass that is being added on top of the black geotextile membranes. And also it looks like crews are fixing some interesting metal treatment on top of some of the geotextile membranes on the unfinished portions of those cyber walls. And I think that all of this, including some of that gray gravel that they've installed, is all part of Investors Day. And then after that is completed, we'll see more work here to finish off the section with concrete. But as I pulled away and gave you this view, this is a really good idea of how this looks today and the work that is going on at a frenetic pace to prepare for Investors Day. Now I expect somewhere near this area we'll see those large silver cowboy hat and boot that was used at the Cyber Rodeo last year and what we spotted on the east side of the construction site in my previous video. But this side view gives you a very good view of how this looks from this vantage point. Also, that white tint is part of the Investors Day preparation as well. So again, quite a bit of intense activity on this section to get the entrance completed, and it's looking great in my opinion. This is that section that has been removed with the asphalt graded section excavated and then cleared. You can also see the rectangular planters and also all of these landscape trees that have been recently delivered. And I'm kind of curious to see if these are any way related to the Investors Day or if it's just preparations for future installation after the Investors Day is completed. So we're going to continue further to the north on the west side. We're approaching where the 4680 battery cell production portion of the building is located, and that's where these black receiving doors are. You can also see some of these containers and some of the other items near this section of the factory. So I'm going to position the drone further up to the north. We'll do a pirouette back and take a look at the factory. One of the things that you'll definitely notice is that this north parking lot is virtually empty, and also the north end of the building has been significantly cleaned up. Again, this is all in preparation for the Investors Day event coming up on Wednesday. And this is a good view of how the cyber berm painted white appears today as well. So as we get a little bit closer to the north end, I'll give you just a closer view of how this is all being cleaned up. The last time we saw a concerted effort to clean up the building, especially on this end, was right before Cyber Rodeo. So it looks like they're doing the same thing again this year. So I'm kind of curious to see if we'll see some sort of display on this end of the building or if it's just general cleaning up. But as you can tell, especially next to this second platform, the one on the left, there's virtually no materials here anymore, which is great to see. We also see quite a bit of these castings. I believe that these are either test or reject castings, and they will be eventually used for recycling. You can also see in the windows that the tarps that they have put on prevents viewing inside. That was done about a month and a half ago. So hopefully Investors Day we'll get a chance to get some inside views from those attending to see what is going on. There should be quite a bit of activity in this section in the month or so since we haven't looked inside. In fact, I would say that the main gigapress, the 9,000 ton gigapress, is very close to being able to start doing some testing at this point in time. On the east side of casting, you see all of the castings lined up, some in the rack mounts, some on the ground. You can also see the concrete staircase on either side of the road here. Looks like it's almost completed now, and hopefully we'll see this finished up maybe next week. And I think this allows for workers to easily access the building. The receiving dock and the concrete apron on this section is nearly complete, and those have those unique kind of deep set receiving docks and the load levelers, so we'll be looking to see that completed in the next week or so. The turbo roundabout now has all of the markings placed on it, as you can see. It doesn't look like they're going to have landscaping in those dirt areas by the Investors Day, but it is something I will continue to monitor to see how the final treatment looks. But from this vantage point, it gives you a really good look at how this traffic circle appears today. As I pull back over this small testing lot, you can see the 4 canopies with the solar panels, and then the other superchargers that are waiting for the canopies to be installed. You also see quite a bit of the Model Ys here, and at the bottom of the screen you can see that test track outlined in yellow, and other Model Ys kind of arranged near that particular section. So let's continue to proceed back towards the east and then north, and we'll take a look at the new car transportation and trucking site today. And it looks like a good mix of Model Ys here, with several of the transport trucks lined up for pickup, and more were arriving at the factory throughout my time videoing today. Here on the East Warehouse on Wheels, it continues to me to look like it's shrinking inside, with more and more of these trailers being put on the west side of the main highway. So as time goes on, we may see this entire warehouse on wheels relocate, and then this section reused for some other purpose. You can also see at the bottom of the screen those 4 stainless steel tanks next to those 2 white tanks. I still think that those may be related to the battery cathode plant, but it's something I continue to monitor. Near those tanks you can see some more earthwork that has just begun in that particular section, so it'll be something I will continue to monitor over time. And also this southeast corner of the site, we can see all of the materials, the concrete sections that came from the south end of the building, and also just how all of this area continues to be reshaped, and more materials being brought over here. As we fly over this section, one of the things I want to point out is you can see that the silver hat and boot props that will be used for investors today and came from Cyber Rodeo have been moved away. So I expect to see those set up probably on the west side of the building soon. This is where some of the Model Y bodies and also some of the crates are recycled, and you see that stack of several Model Ys ready for recycling. As I move the drone back west across this east side, this gives you a good view of all of the trailers, the workshops, some of the materials, and also how this north end of the warehouse on wheels and now material staging yard is starting to shape up. And also, as we continue further to the north, I'm going to stop the drone here in just a second and bring it down. There's a very interesting set of deliveries here with that green truck with the black accordion trailer. And I believe that these are more equipment that is slated to be moved into the battery cathode plant soon. This tends to be a sort of a small staging yard until the materials that have arrived are moved over to the battery cathode plant. This is a good view of the east side of the battery cathode plant, and a lot of the activity that's going on in and near the walls and inside of this portion of the factory. You can see some equipment in that large open section. It may be portions of furnaces necessary for the production of lithium hydroxide. Here we see some of those red and white components that are part of platforms, and also these black and wooden crates that you can see. Those are louvers that are being installed on the west side near the top of the structure of the battery cathode plant. Here's a good view inside where the SACME presses were installed on the ground, and they're covered in blue tarps. The platform with more equipment, and then there will be another level of that platform up to the top where that doorway is located. You can also see those Evapco fans and other HVAC units that will be installed on the west side of the building in the near future. The cell test lab still looks like it needs some work on the exterior, but there may be some work going on the inside we cannot see. And I think these red components on the trucks and nearby may be bridge cranes that have been recently delivered. They'll be installed inside the factory at some point. This north clearing location has continued just to see some more materials, particularly the red and silver materials. And you can see up to the up left where that large field is. And we saw that in my previous video where all those materials are being stockpiled. I'm going to push the drone down a little bit to take advantage of the sun and not get too much glare. And then I'll resume here with the west side and a good view of the battery cathode plant on the left and the die shop emerging in that structure on the right-hand side. You can also see this temporary structure on the left. Part of it has been removed. Some of the equipment wrapped in the white is now out from underneath the roof, which indicates that we may see that moved soon for installation in one of these two large structures. Here you can see the slabs on the left have been completed and cross-cut, and there's more work going on with that deep inset slab and foundation on the right side. But with the way the sun is and the shadows, it's really hard to take a look inside that portion today. But we can see the progress here on this galvanized steel structure with all of the pipes, the pumps, some more of the equipment, and some electrical components that are between this structure and the concrete walls. But overall, quite a bit of work continues in this particular structure, which will service the battery cathode plant when it's in operation. Let's fly down the alleyway between the two structures. And one of the things I want to show you on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that a new section of slab has now been poured and is already cross-cut, and it looks like they are preparing forms and rebar and will be yellow moisture barriers in another large section of the slab. So I'll bring the drone up a little bit higher and I'll turn ourselves back towards the west to get a good view inside the die shop from this perspective. And you can see that new slab that was poured recently and the work on that southeast corner where they're preparing for yet another large section of slab. And this is a good view inside to see where that is taking place as well. So let's turn even more towards the west and just take a look at the progress with the blue water pipe installation. It looks like most of the trench has been filled in, at least on the left-hand side of the screen, while more work remains on the right-hand side of the screen. And you can also see the HDPE long black pipes that are being fusion welded together next to these blue pipes that are being stored. Those black pipes will be for treated water and will be installed in horizontal drill bores in the near future. As we proceed up towards the south end of the temporary electrical switchyard, we can see the equipment and components that have been stored here. We can see the pipes that'll be part of the seventh and final A-frame structure, and also those two V-top circuit breakers waiting for installation in the new permanent electrical switchyard. And again, I'll show you where those will be installed in just a second. The transformers on the south end, looks like most of the assembly work has been completed, so they are very close to being able to be connected to the rest of the electrical switchyard. On this side of the electrical switchyard, you can see almost all of the new footings have been completed. There's just the three rectangular ones on the north end that haven't had concrete. Now the rectangular footings are for those V-top circuit breakers, and the four larger footings in the middle are for that A-frame structure. On the north end, this is a good view. Take a look at the worker next to the rebar cylindrical cage. It gives you an idea of the size, also as the truck as well. That will be put into a very large bore, and it will support the fifth new steel power pole once that's installed. And here's a good view of the overall electrical switchyard from this point of view. So that's a quick look at Giga Texas on this Monday, the 27th of February. Most of the activity is related to preparations for Investors Day coming up, and that includes the inside as well as the outside of the factory. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your support. And also a special thank you to the Czech tour group that came out. I really enjoyed meeting all of you, and I hope that you enjoyed your tour of Giga Texas while you're touring the United States. As always, thank you again for watching. Take care.